I'd now like to ask the CEO of Golf Canada, Scott Simmons, to say a few words. Scott?
Well, good morning, everyone. What a great day. And as Scott said, welcome to the 107th playing of Canada's National Men's Open Golf Championship, the RBC Canadian Open. Once again, we have 156 world-class players in our field, including the #1 and #2 ranked players in the world, 7 past champions, 14 Canadians, and for the first time, we can also say 7 Olympians. I'd like to thank all of our partners that helped make this week so special, and in particular, RBC and BMW, who are also both Olympic sponsors. And thanks also to our friends from Shaw and Global for providing the technology that allows Brooke Henderson to join us today here from Calgary. Lastly, a huge thank you to our 1,400 volunteers, the Glen Abbey Golf Club and their staff, the town of Oakville, and all the spectators that will help make this week a tremendous success. And what makes this week even more special is, of course, golf's return to the Olympics for the first time since 1904, and we are the defending champion. As a native of Brantford, Ontario, and a member of the Brantford Golf and Country Club, I know how proud we are of David and Elena, and I'm sure the same is true in Hamilton, Smiths Falls, Ontario, Weyburn, Saskatchewan, and all other communities from coast to coast. So congratulations to our Olympians, and everyone enjoy this week's RBC Canadian Open. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. After a 112-year hiatus, golf is back on the Olympic program. The last time golf was played at the Olympic Games was in St. Louis, Missouri in 1904. And a Canadian, as Scott alluded to, by the name of George S. Lyon won gold. So a Canadian to this day is the reigning Olympic golf champion. To tell you a little bit about George, he founded the Lambton Golf and Country Club. He won the Olympic championship at age 46. He was an 8-time Canadian amateur champion. Talk about golf and the Olympic Games. It was also played in 1900 in Paris. At that time, there were men's and women's individual events. In 1904, there was a men's individual event and a men's team event. And so the hiatus has been longer for women at the Olympic Games. In all, 13 medals have been won in the Olympic Games in golf. Americans have won 10 of those medals. Brits have won 2, and Canada won, which is the gold medal by George S. Lyon. In that 112 intervening years, golf has continued to grow around the world and here at home in Canada. And now we have a new generation of Canadian golfers to carry the torch in Rio de Janeiro in 17 days from now. Rio is at our doorstep. This is the first Olympiad in South America, one where so many issues dominate the headlines in the lead up to the Games. But the Games will go ahead. 10,000 athletes from more than 200 countries, people of every race, faith, gender, and orientation in one place at one time. The greatest spectacle on the face of the earth. Only the Olympic Games can do that. These 4 men and women, the athletes who have been named to Canada's Olympic golf team, are extraordinary individuals. Before we start with the team introductions, I want to recognize some people here with us today. And please give them your applause. From Golf Canada, President Roland Deveau. From the Government of Canada, Stéphane Lauzon, Parliamentary Secretary representing Sport Canada. And the Member of Provincial Parliament from Oakville, the Honourable Kevin Flynn. And ladies and gentlemen, how about a real round of applause from the Canadian Olympic Committee, the Canadian Olympic team. a 3-time Olympic medalist, an honored member of Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, the chef de mission for Team Canada. He was the chef de mission for Team Canada at the Pan American Games in Toronto last summer. Ladies and gentlemen, Kurt Harnett. Now, stay standing, Kurt.
Yes, I will.
Because I want you to present our Olympians with their official Team Canada jackets. And so, without further ado, here are the members of Canada's Olympic golf team. First, a member of the Brantford Golf Club, his hometown. Third at the RBC Canadian Open last year, what drama he gave us. A 4 Nations Cup winner for Canada as an amateur. David Hearn. From Weyburn, Saskatchewan, he has represented Canada at the World Cup and the President's Cup. You may not recognize him today, but you will when he gets on the course in Brazil. Graham Dillette. She is a native of Hamilton, Ontario. 3 CPGA championships to her credit. Her first was won at the Lambton Golf and Country Club, home of George S. Lyon. There is the Olympic connection. She's a proud member of the Brantford Golf Club. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena Sharp. And via satellite, all the way from Calgary, Alberta, where she is hosting a junior golf clinic, the current LPGA champion, ranked number 2 in the world, from Smiths Falls, Ontario, Brooke Henderson. Ski cross Olympian Brady Lehman will present Brooke with her jacket in Calgary. How about another hand for our Canadian Olympic golf team members? And now for the coaches, the men's team coach, Derek Ingram. The women's team coach, Tristan Mullally. And Golf Canada's Chief Sport Officer, Jeff Thompson. What an incredible team we have. And Kurt, I'd like you to say a few words about welcoming golf to Team Canada and back to the Olympic Games.
Well, thank you, Scott, and congratulations, athletes. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the ground in Rio, as Scott pointed out, in 17 short days. We at the Canadian Olympic Committee, quite frankly, are over the top excited about the introduction of golf into these Olympic Games, and hopefully a successful tournament breeds future involvement in future games. It's kind of interesting because it is exciting, and we, as a former Olympian, one of those moments, and having this opportunity now to act as the chef de mission. One of the first questions I get asked with regards to my role as the chef is, what do you do and what culinary school did you go to? Why are you not wearing a puffy white hat and a knife and asking them what their dietary restrictions are? That is not the role, for those of you that may not be familiar with this role. My role is really the lead delegate, the leader of the team, the entire Canadian delegation going into Rio to provide some leadership, some mentorship, and quite frankly, to be a glorified cheerleader on the ground during our athletes' competition, and couldn't be more excited than having the opportunity to watch these athletes compete against the world's best down in Rio. Rio is ready. We have an advanced team down. They just moved into the village last night, and they've sent back 2 thumbs up with regards to where Rio is at with their preparations. The Olympic experience is different. It is, as I pulled up into the parking lot here, I noticed where the players had their nice parking lot off to the side. We do kind of offer that. It just happens to be a big bus shuttle that sort of has a little station stop, and you get off. As Scott pointed out, there's over 10,000 athletes from around the world that will be resident in the Olympic Village while you're down there. And as I always point out to the athletes, it's got to be the largest gathering of tall people in the world. You walk around, if you're 6 feet tall, maybe 6'2", and you think, hey, I'm maybe even above average in height, and you spend the whole time on the ground looking up at people, trying to get noticed, trying to just kind of get around to make sure that when they take the pictures, we push them to the back. Unfortunately, there's so many of them that you end up just kind of kneeling on the ground. But anyways, we are, and the teams have been working together behind the scenes. One of the great things that the Canadian Olympic Committee does so well is provide best-in-class services to our athletes. And we've been working with Golf Canada hand in hand to ensure that our athletes have everything that they need to compete and win against the best in the world in Rio this summer. And I'm looking forward to us defending our medal and bringing glory back home to Canada in both the men's and women's competition. Good luck to you guys.
Thanks so much, Kurt. And before we engage in a couple of questions for each of our Olympic athletes here, and I say that with great reverence because a small fraction of the world's population can call themselves Olympian, and now you 4 can. It's a wonderful privilege that you have, a tremendous honor, and I believe that Canada's Olympians are national treasures, each and every one. But Kurt, on a serious note, I do want to ask you about the importance of the success of these Olympic Games, considering all that's happened and all that will happen, and the importance of the commitment that these athletes have made to the Olympic journey.
Well, it really is an interesting journey as we travel into these Olympics, first time ever in a South American country. We've certainly, if you've read anything in the media, have seen some challenges that this organizing committee has faced. As I just said, though, one of the most amazing things is and I was just in the city just down in Rio about a month ago, and seeing the preparations and seeing where they're at, and they are ready to host these games. It is such a spirited and amazing culture, and I think going to be a fantastic host for these games. But you also touched on the element of what it means to be an Olympian and the opportunity to wear the maple leaf and represent your country. It is really one of those unique journeys that is very individual. And it's kind of amazing when that individual effort brings you to such a moment where you're part of this massive movement, this massive opportunity, this delegation of like-minded individuals that constitute a team, that same spirit, that same attitude, that same way of going about doing business. And that is, I always kind of say it this way, we will smile and hold the door open for you, but we'll have no problem kicking your ass. So, and I apologize to the children here, but it is, but that's the real world. No, it is one of those things where it is amazing the spirit that we have. It's almost a paradox that a Canadian athlete has, where we have that energy, we have that pride, but that humility, yet we're driven, and the competitive nature that keeps us going every day really comes to the forefront when we hit the field of play. And I'm excited to watch these athletes do so down in Rio.
Perfect. All right. Can I bring Brooke into the conversation out in Calgary? If Brooke can hear us, and certainly we'll be able to hear Brooke out in Calgary. You're at a junior golf clinic, Brooke. You've done so well recently on the LPGA Tour, the big victory in the championship, and you've inspired so many young Canadians. I'm wondering what you think golf can grow and how much the sport can grow by being involved in the Olympic Games, and how eager you are to take part in that return to the Games.
Yeah, I think having golf back in the Olympics is huge, you know. I think it's huge for Canada. I think it's huge for the entire world. And, you know, standing here with these youngsters right beside me, it's really cool to have the opportunity to maybe inspire and motivate them, just like I looked up to many LPGA Tour stars in my lifetime. And, you know, it's an amazing feeling to be named an Olympian, have the chance to go down to Rio, and like you mentioned, to defend that title from over 100 years ago. So that's really what I'm looking for, and I've had an awesome season so far, so I'm hoping to cap it off with a gold medal down in Rio.
Fantastic. Brooke Henderson, ladies and gentlemen. Elena, you're a member of the Brantford Golf Club. Your hometown is Hamilton. We always say at the Olympics it takes a village, it takes a community to grow a champion. And I'm wondering what it means to you to be going not only to represent Canada, but to represent all the people of your hometown.
It's an amazing feeling. I got to ask the same question this morning, and to represent Canada is one thing, but to be representing Hamilton is another. There's not too many Olympian athletes that are going from Hamilton, so I feel very honored to be going down to Rio and representing Hamilton. Wearing the red and white is something that I love to do. I've done it a couple times before, and there's no better feeling in the world.
David, you heard the roar of the crowd here at the Canadian Open, the RBC Canadian Open last year on that final day, and there is something to the swell of Canadians behind you when you compete. Am I right? And are you looking forward to that experience at the Olympics?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the experience last year here at the Canadian Open to feel what energy Canadian fans bring to their athletes. And you know, I know watching the Olympics growing up, and I know the emotion and everything that was triggered in myself watching those games. And you know, I'm very excited to be an Olympian. I'm very proud. And the experience that I had here last year at the RBC Canadian Open is something that I'll never forget. The outpouring of support from family and friends and all those people that are close to you, and everybody else that came out to support. It was a truly incredible experience, one that I'll never forget. I'm excited about the experience that we have coming up in Rio, and hopefully create some new memories there that I'll never forget as well.
Canada's a team country, so caddies are a part of this equation at the Olympics. I know, David, Ralph, your coach, will be your caddy there. Elena, your longtime friend and caddy, will be there with you again in Rio. And I know, Brooke, out in Calgary, that your sister, Brittany, will be your caddy, as she always is on the LPGA circuit. She'll be there in Rio de Janeiro. Graham, here's the question for you. You have made a choice to bring a different kind of caddy because yours is unable to go. Why don't you tell us about Ray Whitney?
Yeah, well, first of all, Ray's a great friend of mine. We play a lot of golf together. He's a great player in his own mind. He's caddied for Julie Inkster a couple of times, so he does have a little bit of experience. But, you know, it's unfortunate. Obviously, I wanted Julian to be there. He's a big part of what we do as a team, but I supported his decision to not be able to come. But I think it'll be great to have Ray there. He was telling me, he's like, man, I'd have been on 4 Olympic teams if I was born in any other country. So he's got the passion. He's as Canadian as it gets, and it's going to be a fun experience to share that with him.
Fantastic. Ray Whitney going to caddy for Graham Dillette at the Olympic Games. I have one more question for each of you, and I'll go around the horn again, and I'll go to Brooke first. And here is the question, and it's an extraordinary time for golf at the Olympic Games as it returns after 112 years. And there are many reasons not to go to the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. Each of you athletes have made a commitment to go to represent Canada. Why did you feel, Brooke, it was necessary to make that commitment? feel, Brooke, it was necessary to make that commitment?
It's an opportunity of a lifetime to go and represent your country and, you know, to defend that gold medal. It's really important to all four of us. I think I can say, and you know, to be an Olympian was always a dream since I was a little girl, but I didn't know what sport or how I was going to do it. But I loved watching the athletes, and I loved the desire, the determination, the focus that they had in their eyes, and I wanted to be an Olympian. And I just kind of got fortunate that a few years ago I found out golf was coming back into the game. So I worked my butt off to get on the team, and now I'm really happy to be going down with Elena, David, and Graham, and hopefully we'll make Canada proud.
Elena, what tilted the scale in the Olympics' favor for you?
Well, same as what Brooke said. Growing up, you watch the Olympics, and being into golf, there was no chance to be an Olympian. And then when it was announced, it was something very important to me to be able to represent Canada and go down to Rio. And growing up, I always watched the hockey, and we're known for hockey, but I think it's time to show the world that we're known for golf.
Graham, how about you? You two have talked about hearing the Canadian anthem here, seeing the flag, the crowds at the Canadian Open, and you couldn't wait for the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it, I mean, I think part of being Canadian is having that pride, and I mean, it should be a privilege to represent your country, not a chore, and I wouldn't have missed it for anything.
David, you're the last word on this.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to represent Canada a number of times as a junior golfer, as an amateur, and even as a professional. And I can tell you, anytime that you play to represent your country, there's a different type of pride and feeling that goes along with when you play those weeks. And you know, to have this opportunity to represent Canada on the biggest stage of sport in the world, that's something I couldn't turn down. So I'm excited and honored, and can't wait to get down there.
Ladies and gentlemen, golf is returning to the Olympic program for the first time in 112 years. A Canadian, George S. Lyon, is the Olympic gold medalist in golf, the defending champion, so to speak. What a great opportunity this is. Hold your applause until I announce each of their names, then give it up long and loud. These are the members of Canada's Olympic Golf Team 2016 for the 31st Olympiad in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Brooke Henderson, Elena Sharp, Graham Dillette, and David Hearn, ladies and gentlemen.